everyone, and welcome to episode 32 of Pinnacle FC. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you, looking into the weekend that will be across European football's top domestic leagues. I guess we're heading into an international break soon, Jake. Did you get time off when the international break comes around? Because we have some big Nations League fixtures over here in North America, in CONCACAF. How do you spend your time during the international break?
A little bit of downtime, yeah. Still have to cover the internationals over here, covering England, Scotland, Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, Wales, all the home nations as we like to call them. Yeah, it's just especially when none of them are in Nations League action, none of them made the finals. It's just kind of like, ugh, what we're looking for. I don't even know what we're looking forward to this time around. I think it might be World Cup qualifiers, which actually is a little bit more jeopardy involved, which might make it more interesting, but. Yeah, it's just a week and a half of just waiting for the club football to come back because we'll be on Champions League quarterfinals, we'll be on, home run of the Premier League. But no, we've got a couple of weeks left yet, so don't be wishing this away. Don't be wishing an international break on.
We're recording this on a Wednesday. We're through the Champions League fixtures from the Tuesday games. Arsenal 7-1 over PSV. Like, I always thought it'd be difficult for PSV, but for a side with very limited attacking talent, Arsenal 7-1. That was the scoreline that jumped off the page. Real Madrid beat Atleti. That was a really good game. I'm looking forward to the away fixture. I don't think it's done and dusted.
Don't get started on that one.
So, the way that it played out for our betting purposes, my top play was both teams to score, and that was settled early. And I did make a side play on goals for both Rodrigo as well as Julian Alvarez. So that actually worked out despite our other plays on the podcast. Let's look ahead to the weekend. All the markets that we use on this podcast are courtesy of Pinnacle. Bet smart, bet Pinnacle. Let's dig in and start where we do each and every podcast with the Premier League this weekend and the first fixture of them all. It's very weird for this time of year when Champions League to be going on that Man City are playing on a Saturday morning in the early fixture. They're making the trip to Nottingham Forest, which is a game with European implications just in terms of next season. Forest is third on 48 points, City on 47, then you have Chelsea on 46, and it's crazy after that. I think really it goes down to 10th place Aston Villa, all competing for a top four position right now. They're on 42 points. So it's a game of consequence here. What do you make of this? Because it goes both ways on the handicap. At a half goal, Nottingham Forest plus 0.5, Man City minus 0.5, and it plays at minus 105 both ways. So City, despite their wobbly form over the course of the season, are favorites heading to Forest on the weekend. How are you looking at this game, Jake?
I think this is one of the more difficult ones to kind of decipher in terms of the betting, because you can make an argument both ways. You can suggest that Forest are perhaps value at their price. They've got a really strong home record, obviously taking points off Arsenal and Liverpool at the City ground. But at the same time, recent games when Forest have come up against anyone that's been half decent, they've been absolutely destroyed. I mean, most of that's come away from home, which you have to caveat with, but the signs are there that they are, easily exposed when it comes to playing against good teams. And then the question is, do you categorise City as a good team? I find it very difficult to do that right now. I know they've had a couple of good wins, come from behind to beat Plymouth, they beat Spurs last league game, but yeah, I just ended up going around in circles really and settling on what can be the best bet, which is no bet, because like I said, could make an argument either way, and there was nothing concrete that made me want to jump on board. I mean, if I was leaning, it would be taking the under on the goal line, which looked a little bit high at 3. Forest tend to keep things very, very tight at home. 1-1 with Liverpool, 0-0 with Arsenal, good examples. So I think that's definitely going to be their approach, trying to frustrate City. So I would lean towards the under, but no official play for me.
Well, my lean's towards Forest on this because I don't think that City are a great team. And without Stones, Akanji, and Ake at the back, like it's just a much different side. And I think Pep has been forced to rein it in a little bit. And against an all-action Forest side, and these are typically the teams that City struggle against. I know they beat them 3-0 at home. And it was right in the middle of the really good run of home for Nottingham Forest as well. But Forest at home, they're athletic, they're strong. Just 10 goals conceded at home is a joint best. I just look at the City side. Like, if you look at their expected goals and expected goals against away from home. 25.95 to 24.25. That's crazy for a City side at this juncture of the season. The fact that they're just about level in terms of their away form play, I could see this game ending in a draw. So I have a strong lean, no official play towards Nottingham Forest. I just also wanted to point out it's very rare that you see two sides that regularly have been going over in the corners market. That's the story when it comes to both these teams, but the corners market is being juiced a little bit. Over 10 corners, 10 is kind of the number that you use to kind of gauge whether teams are going over or under. It does tilt to the higher end of the spectrum as well, but over 10 corners at minus 141. That seems a little bit high out of reach for me, but these are two sides that have been playing to the over in terms of the corners market as well. Just something to keep an eye on heading into the weekend. Where the numbers are at right now, I'm not making a play, but I'm going to keep an eye based upon where things may maybe level out heading into the weekend. So that's it. If we have nothing else there, then we might as well go on to the rest of the weekend in the Premier League. I want to bring up this game because Liverpool's playing Southampton on the weekend. We all know, like, Southampton's been one of the worst sides, and I think that chuckle indicates where I might be going here. We're recording this podcast ahead of PSG Liverpool in the Champions League, but I'm basing this conversation, the fact that there will be work to do in the return leg, which will be played next week. And I think a lot of the games on this podcast will fit a similar category. You need to look ahead to what the games look like. The line is set at 2.5. Liverpool, yes, at home against Anfield, against Southampton, 2.5. But if you want to back the away side at plus 103, it's there for the taking. We should mention that Southampton are a much better side. It's not saying much, but they are a better side away from home than they are playing at St. Mary's. Is that number at the very least tempting? Like, for me, I'm tempted to back Southampton here at plus 2.5, at plus 103, in a game where Liverpool could run out a highly rotated side, win 2-0 like they typically do, and it's still a winning play for Southampton. And I should also mention they played twice this year. Liverpool beat Southampton 2-1 in the EFL Cup and 3-2 in the Premier League as well. It just seems like Southampton's one of those teams where they at least play Liverpool to a decent level. What do you make of that, Jake? Have I made a case?
Not a strong enough one to get me on board. I mean, saying that they're a better away team than home team when they have picked up one more point on the road is a little bit of a stretch.
It's how. It's how.
Yeah, I
2.5.
won't be going near this. No, this is the kind of game against this kind of opponent that Liverpool usually dismantle, whether they feel the second string or not. And let's be honest, the second string is going to feature Darwin Núñez, Diogo Jota, Endo. Quansah might get a run out in the back. It's not exactly like with Curtis Jones. Yeah, it's not exactly like we're going to see, like me and you rocking onto the pitch for Liverpool. So, yeah, it's just. I mean, you've made a case as to why you could potentially back Southampton, but I just thought this was just one of those that why risk it for 2.5 goals either way? Why risk it? Well, again, it's a no bet for me in the sense that if Southampton somehow avoid a smashing, well done for those that got involved. But yeah, this was just a game I had very little interest in off the bat, to be honest, because Liverpool, I fully expect them to win, and they are closing on a Premier League title. They're going to want to, feel a strong enough team to win this game fairly comfortably. It might be a case that he plays the first team for an hour and then takes them off, gives them a rest. Probably not.
I can't see it.
Again,
Southampton's last win came away. It was at Ipswich Town, but lost 3-2 before the Forest.
Their only win.
3-1 to United. I'm just saying here, like they create chances. They do. And I just don't think that Liverpool's real focus is going to be on this game. They have a comfortable lead. They're running away with the Premier League. So, yeah, I'm tempted to make that Southampton 2.5 play. What the heck? I'm going to make that play. I wrote it down.
Oh.
I'm not going to 2.5 goals, okay?
You haven't persuaded me, but I've just had a quick look. And, for you, if you'd have backed this handicap blind all season away from home, you'd have lost once. for Southampton, which was the last game against Chelsea, where they looked absolutely horrendous against a really bad Chelsea team. So, but yeah, if you backed it blind, you'd be well in profit. They don't lose by 3 goals or more very often away from home. At home, completely different story. But,
all right, Jake. We'll turn the tables to you. I do have more plays, but give us your card in the Premier League this weekend.
Yeah, so I think we'll start on Saturday. So I've got a couple on Saturday that I really like. The first one is Brentford to beat Aston Villa, plus 127. That price is short, and it was plus 131 2 or 3 hours ago. Villa are just one of those teams that when they play in the midweek, you just have to oppose them at the weekend, especially after Champions League action. They are 1-3-4 after Champions League games. That one win came in September, after the very first Champions League match when they had a fully fit squad, and it came at home to Wolves. So Wolves were really struggling at the time under Gary O'Neill. Since then they've not won, and they've lost 4 of those 7. Brentford, they've won 3 of the last 5. They are winless in 6 at home, but it's one of those weird quirks we mentioned on the podcast before, that their schedule has just seen them play really, really good teams in the stretch. So they played all the current top 4 in that 6-match winless run. They lost to Tottenham in a game that they deserved to win. They created over 2 expected goals in that one, and then drew with an improving Everton team. So I'm not too worried about just looking at the raw form and being put off by Brentford. And I mentioned Villa's post-Champions League form, but just in general away from home, they've been really poor travellers. 4 wins, 2 draws and 7 defeats. So I think they're easily opposable. Granted, they've got a comfortable lead against over Bruges, 3-1 to take back to Villa Park. Fully expect them to advance now, but still the legginess in that team. And you mentioned at the start of the show the top 4 chances, and they are 5 points off the 4th and 4 points off 5th, and 5th probably is going to get you a Champions League spot this season. They have played a game more than everyone else, and they have got to climb above 2, 3, 4, 5 teams to get there. So it is a bit of an outside shot. I think their best chances of getting into Europe are probably winning the Champions League, which is a very, very long shot, as you would suggest, based on the odds, but also winning the FA Cup. So it might be a case that Emery does just prioritise the cup competitions and sacrifices the league, which obviously would
be very on brand. Just really quickly, I was looking at Brentford team total. It's flushed out to minus 127, but over 1.5 goals for a team that scored the most home goals in the Premier League. It's a side, and I keep on using the statistic, 4th worst expected goals against away from home for Aston Villa. Both teams are regularly playing to the over. That's my play in that match. So good one, Jake. I like that play. What else do you have?
I think the goal total in the Wolves-Everton game is just too low. 2.25.
Same.
And you're getting a plus number.
I was going to ask you, is that because Cunha's suspended? Is it like compensating too much the fact that Wolves' best player will be out?
I think so, yeah. I think that's the main issue. People are forgetting that Everton are also playing, and they're a much stronger attacking outfit under Moyes. But yeah, just in general, Wolves, since Pereira took over, they've had 7 they've had 7 of their 11 league games have seen 3 or more goals. So it's not just like, they're really struggling, they're not obliging when it comes to goals. The defence is looking better, the attack is looking more dangerous, but that's not making a difference in terms of the total goals we're seeing in matches. And as for Everton, it's 5 of Moyes' 8 have seen 3 or more goals, and we only need 3 here. Gives us a very, very nice winner at a plus number. And as I mentioned, Everton just created so many more chances. Before he arrived, Moyes, they were averaging just 0.9 expected goals for per game, and in his 8 league games in charge, it's up to 1.65. So it's nearly doubled in terms of the attacking output. And I think both teams will see this as a great opportunity to get a win on the board. Yeah. This is all they're playing for now is league position, really. I don't think Wolves are going to go down, and they probably want one more win to make sure of survival, which they'll be looking to these kind of home matches to do. I think they'll be going hammer and tong and end-to-end kind of game. Goals, it's just too low. I mean, any Premier League match that's priced anywhere near 2.25, you have to get the over. You have to, because the goals the last 2 years have just gone crazy.
Is that a decent number at plus 105 as well?
Number, yeah.
I mean, you almost have to. Just really quickly, Everton beat Wolves 4-0 this season, and it was 3-0 Wolves over Everton in this fixture last season. So, yep, that's a no-brainer play, automatic play for me. And it's not just Moyes. I mentioned this last week. It's Alcaraz as well. He's been such a good addition to the Everton side as well. That's all Saturday for me. I'm eyeing a couple
me too.
fixtures on Sunday. Let's go straight there. And I'm assuming that we both have a play for Spurs Bournemouth. It's just an assumption. It just sticks out. Like, go ahead, take it away. Spurs Bournemouth. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm just like I did my notes literally about an hour before recording, and the price has absolutely been smashed in already for Bournemouth.
Yeah.
They were around plus 168. They were outsiders. They're now favourites in the market. The draw no bets into minus 112. It was plus 109. So there's a huge movement for Bournemouth, which is completely
by the way,
understandable.
that was my play. I locked in a bet at Bournemouth, which was zero handicap, a draw no bet at plus 109 on Pinnacle. I locked it in. You're right. This has moved. And the reason why the line has moved, and I can't believe it's moved this much based upon the news that Kulusevski is in a walking boot and he's out through injury. How Kulusevski has that much of an impact on this line move is crazy to me. Good player, but I was going to be on side with Bournemouth anyway. But just the fact that it swung based upon the Kulusevski news alone, there's a lot of other reasons to back Bournemouth in this game. And this is just kind of the cherry on top that Kulusevski will be out.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they're in attack anyway. They're much healthier now. Anyway, Kulusevski's out. Brennan Johnson will come into that right wing position. You've got Maddison, whether he plays or gets rotated because of the Europa League. And that's the big reason why I was getting against Spurs. It's just that their entire season hinges on Europa League football and winning that competition. If they don't win that competition, they've got no European football for next season. So why would you risk your better players like in these kind of league games? You've got Van de Ven and Romero close to returning. Why would you even bother throwing them in here? You save them for latter rounds of the Europa League should you get there. So I think at the kind of prices now, I think it's still value. Draw no bet at minus 112. I think if it goes anywhere near minus 120, I'd probably be looking at just backing Bournemouth outright.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at the record Spurs as well after Europa League matches. They've won 3, drawn 1, lost 4. But in the matches after an away European game, they've won once, lost 3 times, and that win came at Southampton, which is not. I think my Sunday League team could go to Southampton and win. The record at home post Europa League matches as well: 2 defeats, 1 draw. They've lost to both Ipswich and Leicester, drew with Fulham. So they're not very good for in a midweek game anyway. And that was when they couldn't rotate and they had a bit of familiarity. Now you're talking about rotation and keeping players fresh. And yeah, just in general at home, the poor Spurs fans have watched a lot of losses recently, haven't they? 6 defeats in the last 9 home league games. Bournemouth, one of the best away teams in the league. They've won 5 of the last 8, lost only 1. And yeah, Underlying Process has got the 4th best away side in the division. So even without the Europa League match in midweek, I would be looking at backing Bournemouth anyway. Then you factor that in, and Bournemouth do look a really solid proposition, given that they are chasing European football as well. So I'd still make the Bournemouth draw a bet at minus 112.
Yeah, for the purposes of this podcast, I'm booked in at plus 109. You can be too, but if you're listening now, I wouldn't talk you out of just backing Bournemouth to win outright at plus 155. Spurs 14th in expected points at home. Bournemouth, the 3rd best team in expected point total away from home. Those stats courtesy of Understat, and Bournemouth already beat Spurs this season as well.
They didn't just beat them; they absolutely dominated,
thrashed them. Could play out again. It's the Europa League context. You said it, Jake. It's just it matters for ties like this.
And do you know what game it also matters in?
United Arsenal. I am shocked that you can get Arsenal to win this match at minus 129. Run with it. Minus 129. It's a better
price now. Minus 122.
I'm just writing this down. Minus 122. What is happening? Because Arsenal are through in the Champions League. United are away to Sociedad, home and away to Sociedad in between. Maguire and Ugarte, neither one of them are fit. They're traveling 18 players on Thursday to Sociedad, 2 backup goalkeepers again. They can't fill out a 23-man team. And everything rides on the Europa League for United. And Arsenal, I mean, if they want to keep that slim chance of trying to put any kind of pressure on Liverpool, it's a must win. I don't get it. Minus 122. Please explain.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's absolutely baffling. I think backing Arsenal to win is a cracking bet. I also like the win to nil at plus 189. I think that I've not seen anywhere near enough from Manchester United, especially at home against what I would call good teams, to suggest that they could trouble Arsenal. Their record at home in league games since Amorim took charge, they've won 3, lost 5. They've scored just 13 goals, and 4 of those came against Everton. 3 of them came against Southampton. So they've scored 6 goals in the other 6 matches. The wins came against Dyche's Everton, Southampton, Ipswich. The teams that they've lost to, Bournemouth went there, won 3-0. Newcastle went there, won 2-0. Palace went there 2-0. Forest were 3-2. That was a bit earlier in Amorim's reign when there was a little bit more hope. Brighton won 3-1. So all the good teams are going there and just winning comfortably. And minus 122 is just, it's automatic play really when you've got a team that are the second best team in the league going to a bottom 6 team really based on the data. And 2 extra days rest. United have got way more staked in the Europa League than Arsenal have in the Champions League, given that they're already pretty much through. And away from home, they've been red hot. Arsenal won 8 of the last 12 in all competitions. Only failed to beat Fulham, Brighton, Newcastle, and Forest, all teams that are, pushing for European football. Kept 3 straight clean sheets in the last 3 Premier League games as well. So Arsenal to win, Arsenal win to nil. Both, I like both of those. And you've got the added set piece bonus as well, because United still can't defend set pieces. And Arsenal are the masters.
Take that gift. United stink. They are a bad team. That's all for me in the Premier League. Anything else for you?
I've got one more, yeah. It's in the Monday night game. Under 2.75 goals.
I looked at this closely, but decided no bet. Okay, go ahead.
The goal line is just too high. It's almost like people haven't adjusted to the fact that Graham Potter's got his team well organised. I know Newcastle can be a little bit leery when it comes to away matches, but they're going to be without Anthony Gordon and probably without Alexander Isak, who came off at the weekend injured, and he's not going to be rested. He's not going to be risked ahead of I think the Carabao Cup finals the following week. So, I think this is going to be a very undermanned Newcastle team. West Ham, 7 league games under Potter, under 2.5 goals landed in 5 of those, and we get an extra quarter here of a goal as well. So the process speaks to that as well. They've conceded just 1.25 expected goals against per game across the last 6, created just 1.1 expected goals for. So they're having a lot of troubles creating chances, which is understandable. Half their attacking players are out injured, and defensively they're looking much more solid. So I was really surprised to see the line so high. Potter's Brighton were renowned for just their control in matches. They weren't renowned for scoring an absolute hatful of goals, just renowned for controlling tempo, recycling the ball, dominating a bit of possession, and just being very difficult to beat. So really, really surprised to see that. That's my final Premier League play.
Okay, let's move forward to La Liga. Remember, bet smart, bet Pinnacle. Okay, what are you looking at in Spain this weekend?
So there's only one game really that caught my eye, and it was the Sociedad versus Sevilla game. Because the goal total is at 2, and that's just too low. Minus 122 it is to back over 2, and I'm more than happy to have a little go on that because in general, Sevilla's away games this season have averaged 3.1 goals, so that's well over this total. And Sociedad, when looking at their post-Europa League matches, they've averaged 2.2 goals per game, but this bet is actually won in 5 of 10 and lost in just 2. So you would have been in hefty profit back in this bet blind in Sociedad games following midweek action. I think that's just down to a bit of rotation, little tired legs. Just a weird quirk of this is that Sociedad have actually played 8 times at home after their 10 Europa League games. I mean, what kind of nice schedule is that?
Yeah, no kidding.
Play in Europe and then play at home, and they've only lost twice that time. So, yeah, I just like the goal angle here. The goal total looks fairly low.
Yeah. Well, I like Sevilla on the handicap because they don't have Europa League fixture to deal with. You can get them at a quarter of a goal at plus 104. They haven't lost in 3, and their only 2 losses in their last 10 La Liga games have come against Barcelona and Real Madrid. That's a good sign for me. Sociedad over the same span, 3-1-6. 7 goals scored, 16 conceded, and playing in the Europa League. Let's see what happens against United. There's a caveat. I mean, they could play United off the field, making the return leg just meaningless. I just don't think that's going to happen. I still think they'll have a little bit of work to do. So Sevilla on the handicap is worth the play for me. My favorite play in La Liga this weekend is Alavés and Villarreal. Villarreal to win at plus 145. Villarreal are fifth in La Liga. Alavés is in 19th, and they haven't won a game in 6. They haven't had a clean sheet in 15. One win in their last 12, but the reason why you can get Villarreal at plus 145 is because they draw a lot. It's a low-scoring team. They've drawn 7 out of their last 12. Villarreal, however, haven't lost in 6. They have the third most expected points away from home, 7-3-3 overall, and they didn't play on Monday. They've had plenty of rest heading into this one. Their match was postponed against Espanyol due to a risk of flooding, and Villarreal haven't lost in 3 in head-to-head with Alavés, and Alavés haven't had a clean sheet again in 14. Villarreal smoked them 3-0 the time that they played, so I think you're getting some good value. A decent enough side against a bad team in Alavés. I also like Osasuna on the handicap. A full plus 2 goals at Barcelona. Remember, Barcelona's playing Benfica in the Champions League. We'll see how that plays out. Osasuna beat Barcelona 4-2 earlier this season. Osasuna, no wins in 5, no clean sheets in 12, but they have picked up 4 draws in their last 6 games. So it's just a matter of keeping it within that 2-goal total. I think because of the Champions League fixture, at a little bit of a plus number, just better than even odds at plus 2, that's worthwhile to make a play for me in that one. Anything else, or shall we move things forward to Serie A this weekend? Just one bet for me, and I don't love it. I generally love the board in Serie A this week. I just can't get on side with it. What are you looking at, if anything?
Just one bet as well. It's Roma to beat Empoli at plus 104. I'm surprised we're getting a plus number here because we've talked about how bad Empoli have been, and for a long while on this show. They're winless in 13 across all competitions. They've lost 9 in that time. But surprisingly, they're in the semi-finals of the Coppa Italia.
Dumped out
They knocked out Juve last week.
Wild.
At home this season, they've lost 7 of their 13. Won just once, lost 5 of the last 6. The 5 points from safety. Their ideal style of football is to be difficult to beat and try and nick a 1-0. They are not going to be able to do that if they want to survive in this league. And I think the main reason I want to back them this game, though, is Roma, because they're absolutely flying under Ranieri. It's gone under the radar, perhaps, but he's been one of the success stories of the season. Last 20 games, they've won 13 and lost just 3, which is absolutely incredible. They've balanced European and league duties very, very well as well over that time. Since the turn of the year, they played 4 times following a Europa League match. They've won 3, drawn once. They beat Udinese, beat Parma, beat Monza, 2 of those away from home, and the only draw came with Napoli, obviously a team that are challenging for the title. Ranieri deserves a lot of credit, and I think that the way in which they go in, that they've got top 6 in their sights. They've got a great chance of winning the Europa League if they carry on playing the way in which they are, but they'll want to qualify by the league route and kind of take destiny in their own hands, if you like. So they're absolutely flying. They are 4 points off 6, 7 points behind their city rivals Lazio. I'm sure they'll love to finish above, and they just need to keep winning. And I actually think they've got the squad to be able to deal with the games as well. They've got a very, very deep squad, a lot of players to choose from, and Ranieri shuffled his deck very nicely, as you would expect from the Tinkerman. So plus 104 for Roma.
We have 90 seconds left, so I'll make this quick. I like AC Milan Lecce on the handicap, minus 105 for 3/4 of a goal. Lecce haven't scored in their last 4. AC Milan have scored just 18 goals away from home, but an XG north of 25, and have beat Lecce 3-0 the last 2 meetings. They need to get back on track. They're not this bad. Beating Lecce away on the handicap is the only play for me. And finally, the Bundesliga. Anything there?
Yeah, it's probably one of my favourite bets of the week. Freiburg to beat Leipzig at plus 163. Price is just massive. I don't really understand it, to be honest. Leipzig are 4-4-4 away from home. Their underlying process is absolutely tragic. They're conceding over 2.2 expected goals against per away game. Since the October international break, they've lost 7 of 11. Lost to the likes of Celtic, Hoffenheim, Sturm Graz. Only managed draws with Bochum, Union Berlin, Augsburg. And then you've got Freiburg, who are absolutely flying at home. 8 wins out of 11 on the season. Dropped points against Bayern, Mainz, and then a random game against St. Pauli. But their underlying process is fantastic, averaging 1.8 expected goals for, 1.1 against. I just don't understand why they're not shorter favourites, to be honest, because there's a real disconnect between the pair in terms of home form for Freiburg and away form for Leipzig. So I expected to see maybe plus 135, something like that. So yeah, the price is massive.
Same bet for me. Mainz has been my most profitable side to back in European football this season. They're at Borussia Monchengladbach this weekend. I'm just not going to go. It's like I don't want to go to the well too many times. I think it's a little bit of a tricky away fixture, so I'm not going to go there. Just one other play for me I want to mention. Wolfsburg minus 127 to beat St. Pauli. St. Pauli hasn't scored a game in their last 4. They are sliding in the wrong direction, and Wolfsburg, a decent enough side, minus 127. I can get behind that number. All right, your top 3 plays of the week are as such.
It's going to be Arsenal to win at minus 122.
No.
We're going to take Freiburg to win at plus 163. And the final bet is going to be under 2.75 goals in the West Ham Newcastle game.
Okay. Arsenal minus 122 all day, every week. That's my top play. Bournemouth on the 0 handicap, the draw no bet, plus 109. I locked it in already, people, and it's not available anymore. At Spurs and Villarreal to win at Alavés, plus 145. Apologies to our producers. We tried our best. We're just over 30 minutes. Next week, we will hit the under. Champions League return legs next week as well. We'll dig into all of that. Thank you for tuning in. Please smash the like button, subscribe. This is Pinnacle FC. It has been episode 32.